I am a crystal skull explorer. If you saw the fourth episode of the Indiana Jones film, they showed a bunch of crystal skulls in there too. The whole idea of the crystal skull, the main theme is that it has enhanced me to discover my true spiritual essence. And so through this very powerful tool, which not only I'm using, but many other people in the world are using, and it has been used by ancient cultures as well, like Mayans, Aztec, Mesoamerican people, it has assisted humanity to become the best that we can be. So in this compassionate listening, my goal is to empower you to discover within yourself through my experiences the best that you can be, because every one of you listening to this is an amazing person. And we all have agreed on some level, if you're coming from a spiritual perspective, we're all here to make a difference in the world. So a crystal skull would be defined, as you saw, would be either a quartz crystal or any type of gemstone, which is in the shape of a skull. Now, it could be a human bone skull, it could be an animal skull, it could be an alien skull, it could be a specially designed skull. But there are modern carvers now that are making these skulls out of every gemstone you can imagine in every shape and size you can imagine. From an energetic perspective for the skull, the size doesn't matter. What really matters, if you're going to be a crystal skull guardian like myself, is do you have an affinity for the stone? Now, the stone I showed you, I'm going to bring him back. I'm sorry, I'm 69, so I can't hold him all the time. He's about 8 pounds. He's made out of lapis lazuli, and this skull was gifted to me a long time ago when I published a book about my travels to Peru looking for a blue-colored skull. I'm not going to focus on that experience because it's a little too complicated. I'm going to focus on more direct experiences that changed me as the person that I am and made me more creative, more happy, and helped me to develop my gifts. Because right now, as a person, I'm involved with many projects to help humanity. This one was gifted. This is an example of what we call a modern carved skull. A modern carver using like diamond tip tools was able to create it. They have to be gifted to do it. But there are actually 4 different types of crystal skulls that exist. There's the modern ones, like what I'm showing you an example of. There's very old ones called ancient or very old skulls that we have no clue how they were made, where they came from. They have extremely powerful energy. Some of them are very advanced in their design. Then we have what are called old skulls, which are made by, let's say, civilizations 100 years to 1,000, much more primitive. And then this may be hard for some of you to understand, but when you work with spiritual mediums, some of them are able to create objects that just appear from literally nowhere. It's called an apportation. So there's a couple of skulls that have been apported. I actually have one like that made out of fire opal that came through the mouth of a spiritual medium, but he's hiding from me right now, so I'm not sure where he is at the moment. Okay, so that's basically crystal skulls. And like I said, ancient cultures, Mayan, Aztec, Toltecs, Atlantis, Lemuria, all, I believe, had affinities for these crystal skulls. So how could a crystal skull impact your life and make you the best person that you can be? Okay, well, the main crystal skull that's changed me is called Portal de Luz. He's a smoky quartz skull. He's about 12 pounds. But the ocean claimed him back in November, so he's still in the water. But this is the main crystal skull that I've worked with. And he was done by a Brazilian carver, and I received him back in 1999. So I've had him for about 25 years. One of the key experiences that I had with Portal de Luz to start with is I started to meditate with this crystal skull in the beginning without any expectation. And I found too that if I meditated with the skull using music, and especially if it's a music that I resonate with, and I'm basically a musician. I play guitar and I've written songs that have come through me. If I play a music and I meditate with the skull at the same time, I go into a very high state, or I start to have like telepathic communication, which could either be coming from a higher aspect of myself. Now, again, I'm talking about things from a spiritual perspective. So I don't know if you can totally follow me on these things, But I will give you an email at the end if you resonate with it or you want to contact me or whatever, you have questions, feel free to do so. But sometimes it's a higher aspect of me that I'm receiving communication with. Sometimes it's a spirit guide. Like, for example, some of you, if you're sensitive, you may be able to actually feel my wife, who passed away in November of 2023. She's right there over my shoulder. She's always around me when I do kind of like the sharing or spiritual work. Sometimes I hear her and I get suggestion, and she helped me a great deal. We were together for 14 years to work with these crystal skulls. So I may get telepathic messages, or I may get a healing, or I may have a vision. So the crystal skull, at least Portal de Luz, when I started to work with him, he was helping me to develop and connect with my inner self, my spiritual self. But then what would happen is he would call me Dad. He would say, Dad, I'm tired of just working with you. Let's go out together and start having contact with other people so I could help other people and share special energies and frequencies with them so they can become the best that they could be. So that's what we started to do. We would start to travel. The first time I brought him out, I was at a psychic fair, and the other readers weren't sure what to make of me. Who is this strange guy coming with a crystal skull to do reading for people? But the person who ran the session said that I had the most sessions, and everybody was totally pleased and happy. So part of the session was a reading, an intuitive reading that they got from me, but also they were holding Portal de Luz, which in English means portal of light, and they were receiving special energy and having an experience and a connection with him as well. One other experience that I can think about was when I moved to Holland, which was probably in the early 2000s. I was married to a Dutch lady for about 6 years. So I met her in Holland, and there was this man I met that lived in Belgium. So Belgium is right next to Holland. I think we took a train to go to the city because we didn't have a car at that time. And I worked with a group of practitioners who used a special device, which probably most of you have never heard from. It's called a Lecuyer antenna, and it's named after a man named Lecuyer. So the only way I can describe it, it's like a dowsing rod that has numbers on it. And so what happens is, as you take this antenna rod and, like, if you were going to the crystal skull, which is over here on the side, the energy of the object will flip it when it measures specific frequencies of energy. So to support the concept that there were special energies connected with Portal de Luz, these practitioners were measuring the energy. It was basically their teacher with the class that had come. And so they were practicing on Portal de Luz. Now, it was very funny because the teacher said, this is just a stone. Nothing whatsoever is going to happen with this. We're wasting our time. However, Portal de Luz doesn't like to be made fun of. And so as they start measuring his frequency of energy, the practitioner, a man probably mid-30s, early 40s, who was measuring, said, well, I'm sorry, sir, but this crystal skull is showing the frequencies of energy of the 5 human senses. And the teacher went, what? This is impossible. Do it again. And they did it 2 more times, and twice again. He showed the same frequency of energy. So perhaps Portal de Luz, in this very magical experience, was giving us a clue about the crystal skulls. And so this is a clue for you, should any of you out there decide, I want to try to get my own crystal skull. And believe me, if you go on eBay, you will find crystal skulls all over the place available to you to have your own unique experiences with. This is the kind of thing that could potentially happen to you. And so this is what has forever changed me, made me the person that I am. I believe it's helped me to expand my creative gifts as well as my spiritual gifts. I have met the most amazing people in the world around the crystal skulls. I've also had the opportunity to organize some great activities like conferences. I've done hundreds of lectures. I've done many sessions. So my life has forever been changed by it. And if you go to see the Indiana Jones film, the fourth one, where they have not only one main skull, but eventually there's 13 skulls that show up, it doesn't give you hardly any clue whatsoever of what these are about. It makes it look like, they're dark and evil. And this isn't what they're about at all. They have the potential to forever change you in your life. Now, I do have a free ebook that you can get that talks about crystal skulls. If you want to get in touch with me, my email is crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. I'd be happy to answer any questions for you or help you to get your own crystal skull if that's what you wish. But I guarantee for you that this is something that could change your life forever. This year is going to be like no other year that we've ever experienced. Be ready for miracles and great opportunities to happen to you on every level. I am absolutely convinced of it. I know it's true because Katrina is basically in heaven and can see the future. Plus, I also have a spirit guide named Arjus who said he's me and he's living in 2037 to 2040. So he's already experienced everything that's about to happen here in 2025. So I hope in whatever way possible, as you linked in emotionally, spiritually, compassionately with me, that this has helped you to become a better person and to empower you to be the best that you can be. I'm going to change it and I'm going to talk about a crystal ball. Okay, it's kind of similar, but it's a little bit different. But this is the one that's coming to me. Okay, because I'm going to give you an opportunity to experience this ball after I explain the experience. So when I met my wife, who's in spirit here, Katrina, in the very beginning, in probably was April 15 years ago, in the spring, around my birthday, was invited to go to a spiritual center in Key West, which is the last island of the Florida Keys. Now, we were living in Atlanta, so we had a pretty long drive, so it took us 2 days basically to get there. But I was told that there was a man who had a crystal ball, which is called the Atlantean crystal ball. Now, this crystal ball, very briefly, was discovered by a Dr. Brown, who is participating in an underwater investigation by Jacques Cousteau off the coast of Bimini. There was a huge storm that happened, and they know that when a storm happens, when you go to the bottom of the ocean, you could see things that are hidden. So he decided to go down. He saw an Atlantean temple. He found the way to get in. He went into this huge room where there were tall chairs and a tall table and some kind of metal beam with a ruby ball at the end. And there were two metal hands holding a crystal ball on the table. This was so fantastic. He was looking, I got to take something back because nobody's going to believe me that I was here. So a voice said, take the ball and leave and never come back again. So anyway, this ball had tremendous energies connected to it. So I like to have direct experiences. That's, like when there's a new crystal skull, I'm going to go see it to have the experience with it. How do I feel the energy? So I wanted to experience the ball. So we were too late to have a session with the owner. Now, this wasn't Dr. Brown. He had passed. Another gentleman was there. And he knew we had crystal skulls. And he said to me, hey, take all your skulls away. I don't want them around the ball because I don't want their energy to interfere with the ball. So, of course, I being an Aries, we followed what he said, except I don't like to be told what to do. So I snuck one of my crystal skulls in my pocket. So we were able to participate with him in a group meditation. There was probably maybe about 10 or 12 people there. So he would walk around and do some energy, which we didn't see. And I thought he didn't like me. But then at the end, he came up to me and said, hold out your hands like this. And he put that Atlantean ball into my hand. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because after I tell you what happened when I meditate with it, the energy of that ball is still in my hand. And so maybe you may be able to experience it because I'm going to ask the ball to come after I tell you this. So I had the ball in my hand. I'm meditating. Katrina said there were a bunch of people that were behind me. I have no idea what they were doing, but this is the vision that I was given. So I saw myself somewhere standing with, to my right, holding my hand was an adult woman, and holding her hand was a little child. So I didn't know if this was like a future vision of something that would happen between me and Katrina, like we would have a child, but we were too old to have children, so we didn't. And I personally have not had any children in this lifetime. So anyway, their backs were to me, so I couldn't see the face. I just knew energetically that that was me. And I've had this vision for a long time. And after Katrina passed, I was in my bed, resting or getting ready to go to sleep, and a voice said to me, these telepathic voices that speak, that wasn't a past vision. It's a future vision that hasn't happened yet. Now, in this moment, today is January 14th, 2025. I have no clue if this is true or not, if it's going to happen. I haven't met this woman, but I have had the little girl appear to me in spirit. I felt her in the room here, but I don't know if she's already born and is a little child to the woman or will be a future child. So that's another interesting experience I had. So to finish, I'm putting the ball there. See if you can feel the energy. So see what you feel. So one of the things that I do, if you decide to get a little crystal skull from me, is I actually will put it in that hand and ask the Atlantean crystal ball to energize it. Now I will tell you the Atlantean crystal ball was brought one time by the last owner to Mount Shasta, to a spiritual center, and it exploded. It does not exist in the physical. But I have a sensing that there are more than one of these crystal balls that came from Atlantis. So this is just the one that we know. All right then. So I hope you have enjoyed all of my stories. And this is what can happen when you start to follow your own spiritual path and you trust in your intuition, in your guidance, in your feeling, because the earth is a beautiful place and we can have amazing experiences here. And, you just never know what's going to happen, especially if you follow your intuition and spirit. Thank you for being with me, and I hope you enjoyed my stories. And please, again, feel free to contact me at my email, crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. Don't think I'm really busy and you'll be bothering me. Please bother me. I need to be more busy. This is how we are as Aries. We like to be very busy. Thank you so much.